Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Hump Day. It is Wednesday. What's Wednesday like in Tallahassee?
It's pretty out, warm, just like at home, really, pretty close.
Are you catching any of that smoke that's coming down the East Coast?
No, not too much.
Okay, because New York looks like it's on fire as well.
No, I don't think it's gotten this far down yet.
Woo, just craziness. So we have an amazing show today. I'm so excited that you are back yet again. This is becoming one of those good habits. So thank you for spending your time with us. A week from today, we will all be together again, but we will be in person. So I am pleading, asking, begging, sharing. Join us. Come be part of the show. Come be part of what we're doing afterwards, which is unpacking time management strategies. We are serving breakfast, so there'll be bagels and fruit and pastries and coffee. And, it's one of those rare occasions that we get to all be face to face. So please do that. And we will do it at your home.
AA World, yes. Looking forward to hosting everyone and seeing everybody there.
It's super cool. So really excited about that. Tomorrow, Jake will be joining me while Mark is still on daddy duty. I shared dinner with him and Jules last night. Shay, show me this gorgeous human being that hello.
Hello. There it is.
There we go.
Oh, look at him.
He was so fantastic, so warm and engaging and talking and running around. It was really an awesome time. But Jake will be here and we will be discussing and unpacking what has gone on in golf, which is there's so many conversations and so many lessons to be learned. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. In review,
do it right the first time.
What's that?
So do it right the first time.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to discuss. We'll save that for tomorrow. But the last 2 days have been really impactful. I got to start an engagement with Northwestern Mutual, Josue Leon, and his team up in Palm Beach. And the reason why I'm sharing this is his reason for hiring me to coach him individually and his team was he wanted to get his life back. And so that time management thing is real for everybody. And sometimes the more successful you are, the more you let go of the discipline of owning your calendar. And so really excited, to do work with him. And then yesterday we spent time with RCC Raphael Dinan. And if you see the picture on the left here, 30 years ago, her dad walked into one of my showrooms, asked for me, met him. Now, this is 30 years ago. The guy walked in wearing an Armani blazer, really cool jeans and boots. And I was like, who is this dude? He was just amazing. He has unfortunately passed, but time, laws of attraction, we are now working with his wife and his daughter, so who have an amazing company, an amazing culture. So, and you know them well.
I do. Robin and Beverly are two amazing women. And her story is interesting. How that when he passed away very early at a young age, and she was in the jewelry fashion business, and all of a sudden ended up in the construction business and had to figure it all out. And she did, and built an amazing company. And Robin is following right in her footsteps, and even more so.
So I'm super proud that they are involved in JA. We're going to get them more involved in JA. But we have, a lot of the topics we spoke about over the last couple of days, you and I are going to bring up. So stick around. I'm going to really shoot some arrows at Lori, get her opinion on some great stuff. Let's get down to business. Boom, let's go. Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more doctor. if we were the ESPN show, there would be a faux pas. I said, instead of wake up music, I said, let's get down to business. But it's all business, man. Quick
I don't think
comment.
we caught it.
Yeah, Joy Linsky, they love you too. Your name came up in our conversation yesterday, so that feeling is mutual. So I want to play a part of Mark. For me, yesterday, I can't even explain the feeling I get when I get to work with my boys. Shay, show me some of the pictures of working with my boys. Boom. So there I am, bottom right. Just amazing time. But we unrehearsed were able to spend 90 minutes between me, Mark, and Jake. I got a nugget from Mark that I want to share, and then I want you to unpack it, Lori.
And so part of the mental conditioning that we used to do with our athletes was teaching them to not choose those negative thoughts. You don't teach people not to have negative thoughts. That's not possible, right? You teach them not to choose the negative thoughts, and then you teach them how to rewire their brain with different thoughts, with positive thoughts. And that is inputs and outputs.
So he was speaking specifically about a topic called conflict resolution. So we went in there sort of as a town hall. We gave our, we're starting with them. So we introduced ourselves and what we do and how we think. And then the questions were fantastic. It's always great when a group is ready to learn and open and ask. And they asked about conflict resolution, both internally and externally. So I'll let you jump in and share your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I mean, internally, I guess I would say that I think workplaces struggle with that. It's one of the things that I think often, how can I help our people deal with that? And it means being authentic, being honest and open in a kind, right way, coming from a good place. But people have a tough time doing that, right? They don't want that conflict. If I tell you, Steve, when this happened in the meeting, right, that this is how I felt, I don't want that conflict because you're going to get defensive. And so they just don't say anything. And then they talk to other people. And then it becomes the whole, right, the cancer and it just becomes unmanageable at times. So that's internally, I think conflict resolution is definitely an issue for people. And externally, when you have to deal with an irate sponsor, an irate client, an irate whatever, right, relationship,
Donor, right?
Yeah, it's difficult because you got to stay calm. I mean, I've got about 5 or 6 things I could tell you, but you've got to, and people don't know that they get defensive, they get loud. It's so there's lots of ways to handle the situation.
So one of the things I shared with them that seemed to resonate was you just never know what's going on in someone's life. Mm-hmm. We all have a tendency to make it about us. And sometimes it's not even close to us. It's just something that somebody's struggling with that you happen to be the next person in front of them. So, right. Mark suggested, and I agree, asking questions and not predetermining. A lot of us go, oh, I got to deal with Lori this morning, because of how you're expecting it to go. And just like the laws of attraction, boom, you expect it and boom, it shows up. When you look at your own behavior and how you deal with things and say to somebody, whatever is going on here, I want you to rest assured that we will come up with the right resolve or whatever. There's a neutral response instead of engaging. I think what happens a lot of times is people pour gasoline on the fire because, to your point, they want to get defensive. What do you mean? And so their body language, their actual language turns out to be gasoline. And so this is true in every single part of your life. This is with your mate. This is with your kids. This is with every single person that you interact with. You just don't know what's going on in the backdrop that is creating that type of behavior. I don't know if you have an example that you want to share, because I deal with it all the time. And when I took the focus off of me is when I finally, had some clarity.
Yeah, we actually had an issue recently with a sponsor, a fairly big sponsor. And there are three three organizations together that sponsor something. And one of them has been fairly difficult to work with. And everything is our fault, and they should pull out. And right, it's just been for 3 years, right, dealing with it. The other two parties don't feel that way, which is a good thing, right, for us. But finally, I said to one of the other two, I said, can we sit down? I want to understand where his issues are. And so we set up a call, and she shared with me, some of the things. And so the first thing was, again, ask. I want to understand what the issues are. Tell me what's happening, right? And it was very calm. I never got defensive no matter what she said. And then the other part was, there were some things in what she shared with me that we had to take responsibility for.
Right.
Okay. So and I wrote down everything she said, right? The 5 or 6 items she said. And I said, can we go through them? Can we go a little deeper? I want to talk about each one and figure out how we can resolve each one. Right. So went through each one and said, we need to take responsibility for this. We dropped the ball, or we have not communicated the way we should have communicated. What would work? What do you think would make him feel good? Right. So it's, first of all, listening, asking questions, understanding, empathizing, right? Figuring out where it's your responsibility and taking the fall, right? And saying, you know what? We messed up and we want to fix it. So help me understand how we can fix it. And then actually following through, right, at some point and sharing, we want to make this work. We're committed to this. We've got some solutions. Let's go forward. So that was the recent one that happened for us. And
I will tell you, that was a 3-minute masterclass in unpacking resolution. So I'm not surprised you have gotten great at that. Managing conflict is a part of being a human being. I'll add one thing, and the one thing is we all feel an urgency to answer it right away. That is not the expectation. And I shared this with the team yesterday, and Robin and her mother, Beverly, both were like, oh my God, I love that. And I said, you know what? Give me a chance to marinate on that. Let me think about it. Let me hear you. I think, and Mark shared this as well, is that sometimes people just want to be heard, and once they're heard, the expectation is you don't have to fix it on the spot. I've learned that at being a good mate is that sometimes someone just wants to get it off their chest. They don't need you to fix it right away. They just need you to hear it and just, socialize it. So an unbelievable part of leadership is being able to manage conflict, and kudos to you. So
well, I want to mention that because you just said, don't answer right away. Answer and let them know that you want to give it some thought.
Correct.
Don't not answer at all. Right. I want to make sure that everybody.
My answer is, I heard you. Right. Give me a chance to marinate on it. Correct. So when I used the word marinate, they loved it because marinate is usually make something better. It makes something juicier. It gets better after a day. When you take meat or anything like that, when it marinates, it gets better. So give me a chance to, take it away and get better with it. So great conversation.
By the way, one last thing. There may be a time to cut your loss with somebody too, by the way. Let's just throw that in at the end. Sometimes, no matter what you do, there is nothing you're going to do to please that client. Sometimes you can't spend the amount of time. You try. But at some point, you may have to cut your losses.
Well, shame on me because I almost missed it. And we brought this up. Bad behavior has to have consequences. And some people are just miserable and they cannot be, you can't make them happy. You have to make a decision as an organization. We're unwilling to accept that behavior, and you probably are better off taking your money somewhere.
And by the way, we have done that. We have cut our relationship at JA. There was a group of men who used to do an event and raise some money. They were so disrespectful to our team. I tried sitting with them, asking the questions, how can we build this relationship? How can we make it more respectful? And they basically said, nope, this is who we are. And I said, okay, then our decision is we don't choose to work with you anymore.
bad behavior has consequences. Shay, I want to rock this show this morning. A surprise, I'm playing Nirvana. Let's go. Shay? Hello?
Hold on. You threw me for a loop here. Hold on.
It's in the notes. What do you mean I threw you for a loop?
You changed the song, sir.
Did I? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. It's on me. Sorry. Today's song is even better.
What the hell's going on out here?
On me, man. It was my fault. Play today's song.
Lightning inside me, son of a god. I'm like a titan that's rising on just you watch. I'm stepping into fate. There is no time to waste. I've got that lightning inside me. This is how legends are made.
Nice.
So part of it being a great leader is accepting when you're wrong. So I was wrong. My apologies, Shay. Way to go, man. I just got mixed up.
I think Nirvana was yesterday when we never
Well,
played
I
it.
wanted to play Nirvana.
The funny thing is, I was going to email you and say, "Do you still want to keep Nirvana? Because you changed the song." And I was like, "No." Okay.
So it's real, man. I was like, I already missed it because it was tied to the imposter syndrome. So anyway, a great song. That's how legends are made. You're correct, Jonathan. It is never a dull moment. It's real. It's live. It's happening. So whatever happens, happens. I'm going to close out the show. I am giving you fair warning, Shay. It probably will be overtime because I read an article. I shared this with Lori as well as many other CEOs that I coach. And the article, the headline was, a CEO says this one question can replace performance reviews. So before we unpack that, Lori, give me your take on performance reviews. You have a big organization. How do you handle performance reviews?
Well, we do an annual performance review. And a few years ago, we started doing a 6-month review. First of all, it's so much freaking work. I mean, it's a lot of work, because if you really do them thoughtfully and well and give honest, right, empathetic, good feedback, it takes a while. We need to think about it. So what we started doing was we now have scorecards. So our strategic plan has KPIs, high level KPIs, and then we take it down and each person has a scorecard with different tabs in it. First tab of it is their KPIs. The second tab is performance, right? And it has all the same categories, the 10 categories that are in our performance evaluation. And then there's the third tab is values, right? Our values, where, being able to say to someone, hey, I saw you deliver the wow, right? And I want to recognize you for that, right? That was amazing, blah, 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 right? So it's a way every single month when you do your scorecard review of saying to somebody, hey, feels like the quality of your work has slipped. What's going on? How can I help you? Instead of that 1 year, all of a sudden, then you get hit with all this stuff. And it's like, where did this come from? I thought I was doing a good job. Or right, the other way around. So I don't really like the fact of waiting for a whole year to get a performance evaluation.
So I love that about you. I think, Mark would jump in and say, we're only as good as our feedback loop. And if you're waiting a year to give somebody feedback, it's already too late, So this is the question. With a full year behind us, knowing what I know now, would I hire this person again? And this suggests the 12-month thing. I think for me, it was always 90 days. I do everything in 90 days because in 90 days, you have a chance to change things. Monthly is a little rough, but because it's a very cumbersome thing to do. But when you look that idea, when I look at somebody who's been on doing what they're doing for 90 days, I want to constantly think about rehiring them because, and I've said this before, the minute I get that pit in my stomach, like this just doesn't feel right, it never gets better for me. Now that might be unique to me. You and I have shared it. I've shared it with other leaders. It just never gets better. And when I've replaced that person, I always get better. I always get closer to what I'm actually looking for. So this question is something I will put in my repertoire. It's something I'm certainly going to continue to go over with people, because I think, if you are not giving somebody crystal clear feedback, right? They just have no idea. They're working in a bubble, and so, the idea that, you've created a feedback loop with me. You and the board, me and the board, are giving you real-time feedback, like this is working or this is not working.
Yeah.
And that could take something very, very small and make it very, very big, the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's funny. When I read this question, it reminded me, and I have not asked it in a long time, but I used to ask our senior team members, if we were building a brand new building on that piece of land in front of us, and we had to decide who to take, who would stay with us and who would not, would you take it? And when they were, if maybe they're bitching about somebody, right, who works for them or complaining or whatever, would you take that person to the new building?
Wow. That's awesome.
So it's so interesting because it's basically the same question. And most often the answer was no. Then why are they still here? Because if you wouldn't take them to the new company or the new building, then why are you dealing with it here? And I think you're right. I think there are different reasons when things stick and don't go away. If somebody makes a mistake, it's one thing, right? But for me, it's about trust. It's about communication. When I don't feel like I trust that someone has the organization first and foremost, or the team, when I don't feel that they've bought into the vision, we've all agreed this is where we're going. They might not agree. So, but my answer is, okay, we all had input. This is where we're going. Now you got to get on board. And if you don't like it, then right, you can't be here. When people don't leave, right? So they don't buy in and they don't go along after the decision has been made. That's when it doesn't ever go away. And that pit in my stomach doesn't go away. And I try. I'm one of those people, and because you coach me, that I really try to build it, to fix it, to help that person develop. But in the end, it typically still doesn't work.
Probably to a fault. Let's answer John's question. I love when the huddlers ask a question. Do you believe that having employees complete a self-performance appraisal is productive? This is an incredibly timely question.
I know. Did you just get...
And we'll go to overtime.
Oh, shit, that's awesome.
So I do. We do have people do their own evaluations. And it's really interesting to read their take on where they think they are and where the leaders, their managers think they are. Sometimes it's similar. And it's interesting. You run the gamut of people who are really hard on themselves and don't think they're as good as they really are. And then you have the others who think they're rock stars and they're not. So
I think the dose of reality is good info for a leader. How do you think you're doing? To Mark's point, I don't want to poison the water beforehand. I don't want to say you're doing too good or too bad. What do you think? You're the one doing it. If you think you're crushing it, and I think you haven't even gotten to first base, we are not aligned. And this word alignment within an organization, when you align with your leader, look at the Miami Heat. They are so aligned with Eric Spoelstra and the way he thinks and the way he gives feedback and how he is doing what he's doing, that it's one congruent thing, not one person, not an outlier. So, I love that, we have this opportunity to share about ourselves. You know, I know when I've given people that opportunity, and Sarah, who's new to us, we are constantly checking in, to your point, daily, weekly, monthly, it doesn't matter. Like, how do you think you're doing? You know?
Yeah.
I
mean, listen, I do one for you guys. I mean, I do my own evaluation and present it with the accomplishments and you know, so I think it is good information. It tells you where someone's at, and I also think that it opens the door for great conversations of, hey, you think you're a 3, I think you're a 5. Right. Or vice versa. You think you're a 5, and here's why we think you're a 3. Here's what we think you need to work on. Can't get better, right, if you're not having those conversations.
And that's interesting, because what we said to people is you have to be willing to be coached in order to get great. I needed to listen to feedback. I need a feedback loop to say, hey, listen, you're blowing smoke up people's ass. It's not working. You know, here's what you need to do. So I love what Mark said. Mark said, can't wait for these conversations in person at the Huddle next week. We'll have Lori in person. Lori, are you doing the show with us?
I don't know. Whatever you want.
Let's do it. Let's pile it on. Let's do it.
I'll be there.
It should be super, super fun. Bring questions. Bring things you want to unpack, because that's what you do at great in-person events. Thank you for spending 3 days of your week with us. Jake travels home from Tallahassee. Tomorrow it's me and Jake. Jake will be sitting in the co-pilot seat. We are going to spend a lot of time talking about the Live and PGA and all that fun kind of stuff. But
let's go Heat tonight.
Let's go Heat.
Let's go Heat.
Bang, bang. Let's go.
I'll be on the plane, so I'll be rooting for them.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to